a peaceful resolution of the conflict would probably cause some short-term profit taking in some of these European defense names. A lot of them have gone up a lot since the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Companies like Germany's Rheinmetall and Sweden's Saab, Italy's Leonardo Spa, they've all risen between 200 and 300% since Russia invaded in 2022.
Welcome back inside our proactive newsroom. Joining me now is Jane Edmondson. She's the head of thematic strategy for VettaFi. And Jane, it's great to see you again. How are you?
Doing well, thanks, Steve.
Yeah, good to have you along. And well, since last time we spoke, a lot has happened. Donald Trump is the new president. We know that. So tell me a bit about what this means for defense spending for the NATO Future of Defense UCITS and ETF.
Yeah, so first off, President Trump announced that he supports an increase in NATO military spending from a 2% of GDP target to a 5% of GDP target, which is obviously a huge increase. And it's kind of been a source of controversy among NATO's member countries. Poland and Latvia, they've already come out and said that they will meet that 5% target. But other countries like Germany are kind of pushing back, saying that they already spend a lot in terms of absolute funds, and they're complaining that that 5% target is too costly. So regardless of the end percentage target, all of this, I think, means more defense spending going forward, especially in Europe, among NATO member countries. And NATO itself is talking about an increase from 2% to 3.5% of GDP. European countries, they may need to double defense spending to meet the challenges of, created by the Russia-Ukraine war, and then also the reality that they're going to have to spend more as the United States is not going to be supporting them as much as they have in the past. So there's a report that just came out from Bloomberg Intelligence that says that the 15 largest European members of NATO might have to spend as much as $340 billion annually, which would take it up to about $720 billion. So lots of spending to come. And this comes after decades of underinvestment, stretching back to the end of the Cold War. So this rearmament effort could take as much as a decade. And of course, the dilemma for all these countries is how are they going to pay for it? In addition to more defense spending, leaders like French leader Macron said that they are in support of creating a sort of a European defense industrial base, its own defense capabilities, its own defense industry. And there's also been a call for a European defense bank that would help fund military spending by providing low-cost loans to NATO members, regardless of an individual's credit status. So those are all things that I think we can expect to happen in the future.
Yeah, so President Trump has vowed that he's going to end the Russia-Ukraine war quickly. He reiterated that today while speaking to global leaders in Davos in essence, a Zoom call. So tell me what that would do with defense stocks if that war were to, end in the near future.
Yeah, so I think a peaceful resolution of the conflict would probably cause some short-term profit taking in some of these European defense names. A lot of them have gone up a lot since the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Companies like Germany's Rheinmetall and Sweden's Saab, Italy's Leonardo Spa, they've all risen between 200 and 300% since Russia invaded in 2022. Thales and BAE Systems, which is a UK name, also up 70 to 100% over that same time period. So there's a lot of short-term profits to be taken. But, again, the long-term outlook is still very favorable. So any short-term profits are going to be at the expense of long-term gains. And again, the reasons behind the ramp up in military spending go beyond just the Russia-Ukraine conflict. So that's what people have to remember. There's been years of underspending. There's the need for new technologies. And Europe is going to be shifting to kind of more of a Europe first policy. There's been a lot of talk about America's first policy. Europe, I think, will be doing something very similar, particularly in light of the fact that about 78% of their military spending for equipment comes from other countries. So They really
Hmm.
need to build up their own defense manufacturing capabilities. And, that creates a great investment opportunity because very few investment funds have exposure to the European defense sector.
Yeah. Let's switch back to the Trump administration for just a bit. I want to ask you about the Department of Government Efficiency that was originally run by Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk. Ramaswamy is now out, so this will be Elon Musk's little baby to take care of. So tell me a little bit about, geez, surprising those two didn't get along for a long period of time. But anyway, how do we expect the U.S. to sort of cut defense spending when the president talks about how he wants to increase spending? So it's a bit of a two catch problem that's going on there, I think.
Yeah, so Elon Musk has vowed that he's going to cut $2 trillion from the $6.75 trillion federal budget. So that's a tall order.
Hmm.
And in particular with regard to defense, he's been very critical of Lockheed's F-35 program. He favors drone swarms over these military jets. So with regard to U.S. defense spending, I think we are going to see a change in the type of defense spending. I don't know that necessarily we're going to see large cuts, but the defense spending will be in favor of quality over quantity, and I think favors new high-tech solutions. So technologies integrating things like AI, robotics, drones, cyber defense, and ultimately those technologies and equipment using those technologies will be less costly than having military personnel on the ground.
Hmm.
So that being said, Trump's executive order, they froze the hiring of federal employees, but they excluded the military. So maybe that's a signal that Trump still is in support of a strong military. So we'll have to see. But certainly, given what's going on in the world, I don't expect to see, huge military cuts given the challenges we have going forward. But I do think that there'll be more efficiencies and spending on different types of military equipment as opposed to sort of the legacy programs that were very costly.
Well, that's what we say today. As in one thing we know about Trump, things can change by the day and sometimes by the hour. So there you go. Jane, thanks so much. Great to catch up with what's going on, and really appreciate your time. Thanks for the insight.
All right. Thanks very much, Steve.
All right, there's Jane Edmondson. She is the head of thematic strategy for VettaFi.